Okay, this is exercise 821 in the study plan. You will have a problem similar to this on the chapter 8 and 9 test. So for the requirement 1, it wants us to record sales of $140,100, $133,000 on account, and $7,100 for cash. We don't need to worry about the cost of goods sold entry. So we're going to debit accounts receivable for $133,000 and debit cash for $7,100, and we're going to credit sales for $140,100, and this is to record sales for the month. The next part is where we collect on account, so we're getting cash for our accounts receivable. So cash is increasing, so we will debit it, and accounts receivable is decreasing, so we will credit it, and we collected the cash on the account. The next part is the write-off of receivables. We're using the direct write-off method in requirement 1. When you use the direct write-off method, you don't use the allowance account. You just debit bad debt expense and credit accounts receivable, and that is how you do the journal entry anytime you're doing direct write-off method. And your description is wrote off uncollectible account. The direct write-off method does not use an allowance account. Then later we recover $400 of what we previously wrote off. So we need to reinstate the receivable. So we're going to reverse the entry we just did. So we're going to debit accounts receivable and credit bad debt expense for the $400. And this is to reinstate an account previously written off. And then we're collecting now. Since we reinstated it, we're receiving cash, and we're going to credit accounts receivable for the $400 we collected. Now for requirement 2, the first entry will still be the same. And then we collected, this will be the same. But this part will be different. With the allowance method, when we write the collectible off, we use the allowance account. We still credit accounts receivable when we write it off, but we've already estimated bad debt expense last year. So we're writing off the uncollectible account. Now we're going to reinstate it, so we're going to reverse the entry we just did. So we're going to debit accounts receivable and credit the allowance account for the $400. And this is to reinstate the previous account we wrote off. And then we are collecting, so we're receiving cash, and we're decreasing accounts receivable. And that is all there is to working exercise 821, and this is what you will have to do on your test.